Goodbye.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and Chief White House correspondent. I'm in touch, and so guess what? You be in touch. Just follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ. That's all you got to do, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to just download our KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast and never, ever, ever miss an episode. Have you seen me around town? Because I'm going to be looking for you around town. I'm going to be in Los Angeles later this week. But if you haven't seen it already, there's this beautiful billboard with Tavis and D.L. Hughley and Dr. Cornel West, and my colleague Zoe Williams, and our friend and colleague Jesse Jackson Jr., all part of this new afternoon lineup. Really, it's not just afternoon. It's a new lineup, a new refresh lineup here at KBLA. And so if you see our billboards around town, go ahead and, take a picture, tweet at us, get in our DMs, tag us, tag KBLA Talk 1580. We love to see it. Now, in our second hour, I'll be talking with Mike Madrid. Mike Madrid. He is a heavyweight in California, a heavyweight veteran American political consultant. He's one of the country's authoritative experts on Latino voters. He's also the co-founder of the Lincoln Project. We're going to be talking a little bit later about Trump's first day in office, his executive orders regarding the border and immigration and more. But in this first hour, we'll momentarily be joined with the former LA City Battalion Chief, Rick Crawford, to get an update on the LA fires. Then a little bit later, we'll be talking to Eric Steinberg. He's with Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. We're going to be talking about the work that they're doing to support the music industry professionals that have been affected by the LA fires. But first, it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off in Ohio, the Washington Post is reporting that Haitians in Springfield are trying to keep fears in check as Trump takes office. The big screen television in his basement apartment showed rich and powerful people taking their seats for Donald Trump's presidential inauguration, and Markinson Raymond was feeling confident. Yeah, the 40-year-old Haitian Creole translator knew well that the threats that Trump had made against immigrants and refugees during his campaign, his adopted hometown of Springfield had been the prime target as a Republican nominee, and his running mate, J.D. Vance, spread baseless claims that Haitians were killing and eating people's pets. He'd been through the bomb threats and the school lockdowns that followed, but Raymond, who came to the U.S. in 2022, was in Springfield legally. Like most Haitian residents, he has temporary protected status, a designation for people whose countries are deemed too unsafe because of an armed conflict, natural disaster, or other crisis for their citizens to return home. And so while Trump had promised in the fall to end the TPS program, Raymond expected that was just red meat rhetoric for his base. Well, that's one person in Springfield that's trying to keep his fears in check. We're going to see if that holds. And we might even invite Mr. Raymond to join us here on air to talk a little bit more about what's afoot in Springfield, Ohio, among the Haitian community. From Ohio to Georgia, NPR is reporting that the ex-Georgia prosecutor on trial for hindering Ahmaud Arbery's murder investigation. It's been nearly 5 years since Ahmaud Arbery was shot to death. And neighbors, Greg McMichael, his son Travis, and William Rhodey Bryan mistakenly assumed Arbery was a thief and chased him with a pickup truck. Y'all remember that? Well, those men are all serving life prison sentences on murder, kidnapping, and hate crime convictions. But now another piece of this high-profile racial justice case is coming to court just after years of legal delays. Former Brunswick Judicial Circuit District Attorney Jackie Johnson is charged with violating her oath of office. And that's not it. She's also charged with hindering a police officer. State prosecutors say that she sought to shield McMichaels from the arrest. Greg McMichaels had previously worked as an investigator in her office and was a former police officer. Arbery's family is ready to see this corruption case come to trial. We'll be sure to keep you posted as that continues to develop. But speaking of what is developing, USA Today reporting that the parts of the Gulf Coast are getting their first ever blizzard warning. That's right. Portions of the Gulf Coast saw a first ever blizzard warning. A wide swath of the South was targeted by a major winter storm, and brutally cold temperatures grip much of the nation today as the U.S. is grappling with wild winter weather. I know it was 25 degrees just a moment ago before I came on air. It was just outside here in D.C. And people have got to be on the lookout. The blizzard warning expired for all of Louisiana as of noon Central Time, but a winter warning remains in effect until Wednesday. More than 30 million people were under a snowstorm warning until Wednesday morning. From southern Texas through Georgia and into Virginia, authorities in Houston were investigating 2 deaths that may have been caused by the frigid weather. In Lafayette, 70 miles east of Lake Charles, Louisiana, the mayor, President Monique Blanco Boulay, said that residents should plan to stay home for the next few days, and that approaching storm represents a weather event unlike anything the city has ever experienced before. And so, we're seeing severe weather events in the South. We're seeing an uptick in the number of hurricanes coming through the Gulf. And of course, we have been talking every week about the LA wildfires. When we come forward, we'll talk with Rick Crawford. He's the former LA City Fire Battalion Chief. He's also an expert in crisis management here in the U.S. Capitol. We're going to be getting the latest from him related to the LA fires, the fires, the recovery, the rebuild effort, all of it. We're going to check in with Rick Crawford when we come forward. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has a program specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to resolve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-919-9077, 800-919-9077, 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Hit me! National news, the consequence. Informed opinion. And analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm really delighted to welcome to the show former LA City Fire Department Battalion Chief Rick Crawford. He's no stranger to our show. He's been in high demand, but we had him here real early into the crisis. Welcome back, Rick Crawford.
Hey, good to be back.
And so what is the latest related to the LA fire situation? I know I've been following the news, and I saw that California is preparing for possible new fires as the winds are creating conditions for pretty explosive growth. We're hearing gusts could peak at 70 miles an hour along the coast and 100 miles an hour in the mountains and foothills.
Well, we're back to where we started 2 weeks ago, the particularly dangerous situation that the National Weather Service delivered. As you can see that, with the two major fires we have, the containment numbers are up 63% in Palisades and 89% in the Eaton Canyon. Moreover, let's talk about the residents are dealing with. They're starting to get back into their area where they once lived. They're starting to see the devastation. And, this is a very emotional time when you go back to something that once was, and now you see the true devastation of what fires do when everything's been consumed. It's just something really hard to really grasp and comprehend. So firefighters are now still, upping those containment numbers. There's still a lot of dangerous power lines and power poles in there right now that they're trying to maintain and manage, and trees is another safety issue. And so between the firefighters and the residents, everybody's working towards this, starting the recovery aspect of this, historic and dangerous incident.
There are reports from the Weather Service of warnings of a particularly dangerous situation for parts of not just LA, but Ventura and San Diego counties. This started Monday afternoon. This warning is in effect through this morning. How unusual is it to see this kind of warning go out outside of LA County to neighboring counties? I mean, for our leaders, learners, and listeners that are not in Los Angeles, LA County is about 88 cities, just to give you a sense of how vast it is. So the fact that there are these warnings that are being issued for not just the neighboring county, Ventura County, but San Diego County, which is far south, how unusual is this?
Well, first of all, it's one of the things, Doctor, is that it is unusual. I mean, I've seen, the warnings, have a large swath before. The unusual part is in January with this warm, dry wind. That is very unusual. But to give your readers a sense of the distance we're talking about, as far as when you're talking from northern Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, all the way down to San Diego, that's the difference between New York and Boston, or New York and D.C. It's over 200 miles of coastline. So you're talking about a large swath of area that's going to be under this particularly dangerous situation. And it's, it's a large area to protect. Again, Los Angeles County is 88 cities. And so just to kind of give people a sense of what we're talking about, the vast nature of where these winds are blowing, which is very, very critical to make sure that they have a robust plan in place before a fire starts on this time around.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass said just yesterday that the city was prepared for any possible new fires and warned that the strong winds could disperse ash from existing fire zones across Southern California. We also know that CAL FIRE and local fire departments have positioned fire engines, water dropping aircraft, and hand crews across the region to enable a quick response. Is this a sign that at least the perception that firefighters may have been, ill prepared or may have been overwhelmed? Is this a sign that firefighters have had they've gotten a grip on their response to the potential for things to go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds anywhere in the region?
Well, right now you can already tell lessons learned from the last fire 2 weeks ago. And so, but, as far as, looking at the fire 2 weeks ago, they were ill prepared, and so you're not ready for that level of engagement. Again, what was the mechanism, that particularly dangerous situation? You have to have 3 things when you're looking at this, right? You have to have 3 particular hard things. 1, recognize, and then you got to have a response, and then you got to be able to resolve the problem. And so having the proper recognition to understand the situation that you're in, having the proper response that's going to fit it, and then the duration, the time and effort to make sure you're resolving the problem that the residents are expecting you to take care of. And that didn't happen in that first 2 weeks, but it looks like now that people are learning right now from their mistakes, and you're starting to see, things starting to take place in a more offensive, aggressive manner.
Moving along, speaking of time, the LA Times is reporting that Western Altadena got evacuation orders many hours after the Eaton fire exploded, of course, where 17 people have died. The LA Times reporting that records, radio logs, and interviews show that residents living west of Lake Avenue were not told to evacuate via electronic alerts until many hours after the Eaton fire started. Residents said that they were stunned how long it took to get the evacuation order, and by then many homes in the area were on fire. Help us understand what should have happened. What is the protocol in terms of alerting residents when there is an imminent fire danger, in this case, a fire danger already in progress?
Well, a series of events occurred in that incident. One, It took a lot of time for fire department to actually arrive on scene due to the nature of the Palisades fire. Fire resources were spread ultimately thin. So not having someone on scene to give an idea where the fire is starting to burn, which direction that it's going, looking at the winds, that evacuation order comes from an official that's going to be on scene, that's going to deliver that. That evacuation order is usually sent to their dispatch center, and then you get Nixle messages and those particular alerts that will start to go over cell phones, because you're going to now deliver those evacuation messages. So looking at the time that it take, to me, like the initial thing that came from this was the delay of actually getting resources on scene. It is going to be someone's decision to have to make that call to get people out of their homes. It's a big decision. However, when you're looking at lives at stake, it's one that has to be made. And when you're in that, you have to be prepared to pull that trigger.
And what's that chain of command in terms of the decision? We know that LA County emergency officials have declined to discuss details of the evacuation process as reported by the Times, which they describe as a unified command involving the sheriff's department, the county fire department, and other agencies. But what's the chain of command in order to get those evacuation orders to residents with enough time for them to be able to get out of harm's way?
So typically arriving on scene as an incident commander, and you survey what it is going on, like where the fire is going, again, the intensity of it, looking at the embers, where it's blowing. You're looking at this in a very few seconds. I mean, we're talking really fast in minutes here. And so when you look at kind of an area, you start looking at where this is going to go and what they call the impact time. Anything less than 30 minutes, is going to be what they call a rescue. Anything more than 30 minutes is going to be, an evacuation. However, the initial incident commander has the full 100% authority to order an evacuation. Once it's ordered, the person the law enforcement is the mechanism of enforcing the evacuation. Now, that as far as the messages go, once you make the notification back to your dispatch center of the evacuation areas that you're ordering, usually it comes from your dispatch or your emergency operations center that's going to now deliver those messages out to the public. But you have to give some, a coordinates of where the evacuations are going to occur. You have to give residents enough time to wake up, get their wits about themselves, and so they can start to evacuate. It's really tough to do this under conditions after midnight, if you can one can imagine.
I know. I mean, my goodness. God bless all the people who were able to, figure out a way to respond and get out of harm's way very quickly. I can't imagine how disorienting that is. And I think there are a number of people that are a little disoriented with the number of executive orders that have been signed by President Trump within the first 24 hours of his presidency. America's second Paris climate withdrawal took place. And I was preparing for our conversation, it occurred to me I'd never heard anybody put this question to a firefighter, or certainly somebody with your credentials. Your job is to, be a first responder. You're right there on the front lines. You take your duty very seriously. But the facts are there are a lot more severe weather events. Just as you mentioned at the top of our conversation, it's January. And part of what is so strange about this LA wildfire is its intensity in January, right, when it's still relatively cool. And I just wanted to get your hot take on the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement. We know that there's evidence that the Earth is getting hotter, and that is at least a contributing factor to the changes in climate that we're seeing. What's your view as somebody who really values prevention? What's your view on the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement?
Well, in a firefighter's mind, usually you're thinking about the source of the activity and how it got there. But your mindset really goes to, and again, to speak directly to the impacts of what's going on. Obviously, we can see that something is occurring. However, is one of the main things is that we focus on is, again, I just go back to that: recognize, respond, and resolve. That's kind of our mindset, no matter what hand we've been dealt. And so, You may not be able to stop what's going on, but you definitely can minimize the impact with that particular acronym of recognize, respond, resolve. That's where we really live in our world. Are we prepared for the next event? Are we prepared for cold weather in Southern California, or are they prepared for wildfires on the East Coast? If you take that, no matter where you go, you typically you can be able to handle the issues that you've been given, and that's typically how firefighters think. Typically, when it comes to these changing times where we need to have adaptable leadership.
Our thanks to Rick Crawford, the former Los Angeles City Fire Department Battalion Chief. He is our resident expert on the response to the LA wildfires, and we can't wait to have you back again soon.
Doctor, thanks for having me. Anytime.
When we come forward, Eric Steinberg of Sweet Relief Musicians Fund joins us to talk about what they're doing to support folks who have been displaced and impacted by the LA wildfires. More when we come forward. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Howard about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice. You tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Former Vice President Kamala Harris visited Southern California to survey the Eaton Fire burn zone in Altadena. She shared her experience of narrowly avoiding damage during the Palisades fire and met with displaced residents at a World Central Kitchen site. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is issuing an emergency order to protect burn areas ahead of potential rain. The order mobilizes crews to clear debris, stabilize hillsides, and prevent fire pollutants from affecting stormwater and beaches. Rain is expected Saturday. Winter weather is disrupting U.S. airports with over 2,000 flights canceled and 2,100 delayed. Houston's main airports remain closed as a storm brings snow, ice, and freezing rain to the south through Wednesday. And Tara Lyons has become the first Black woman to serve as acting U.S. Attorney for Georgia's Southern District after Jill Steinberg's resignation. Meanwhile, Chanel Booker was appointed as the first Black prosecutor in Middle Georgia. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
North Hollywood crash on the 170 northbound before Sherman Way. It looks like it's out of lanes now, but delays are still a mess.
Hello, Eric. How are you? Hello, Eric. How are you? Am I pronouncing it right? Is it Eric? Or is it Eric? Eric. I will try. My name is Nii-Quartelai Quartey. I'm your host. I'm putting a link in the chat right here. You're in sort of a holding room. And so if you click on this link in the chat, it will bring you into where all the action is happening. We're on a commercial break and we'll be live in about 3 minutes. All right. Thank you.
To get fire danger alerts and updates, or check on lafd.org. The Watch Duty app is free and provides wildfire maps and updates in real time. Keep your gas tank full and plan your route in case you have to leave the area. City and county officials are urging you to pack a go bag so you can be ready to leave your home quickly in case of an evacuation order. Your go bag should include a couple of days of clothing, copies of your important documents and ID, money, insurance information, your medications, electronic devices, batteries, chargers, a small radio, and emergency contacts. If you receive an evacuation order, gather your loved ones, grab your bag, your pet food, and leave immediately. For information on shelters for your pets or even your family, call 211 for the City of Los Angeles and 311 county-wide. Wearing a mask outside will help protect you from smoke, toxic fume, and particulate matter. If you don't need to go out, it's best to stay home with the windows closed. Getting to know your neighbors is a great way to stay safe, stay connected, and share resources. And Angelinos are stepping up to help. So reach out and find the assistance you need. Mutual Aid LA Network is constantly updating a Google Sheet with mutual aid resources. You can find it at tiny.cc-malan-fire. The earlier you make a plan, the better off you'll be when every second counts. Praying for LA, preparing, and standing with you. KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. I'm really delighted to welcome our next guest, Eric Steinberg. He is representing Sweet Relief Musicians Fund, and he's here to talk about some of the work that they're doing to support music industry professionals that have been affected by the LA wildfires. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Well, and great to have you here. No secret, I'm a big music fan. A lot of our leaders, learners, and listeners are also fans of music, and should be, because we know that the First Aid benefit concert is coming up. There are a number of music acts that have been announced in Los Angeles coming up next week. In Inglewood at the Kia Forum and Intuit Dome. They're going to host concerts benefiting victims of the new wildfires. I understand tickets go on sale tomorrow, January 22nd. Some headliners include Billie Eilish, Lil Baby, Stevie Nicks, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think I also saw one of my faves, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and among so many others. It's great to see artists coming together to support one another and support the LA community. What inspired you to channel your Good Samaritan energy into this fund?
That's a good question. Kind of inquiring about my career choice here. I've been channeling my Good Samaritan energy into the music business for 15 years now with Sweet Relief. We've just celebrated our 31st year as a charity, so I've been there nearly half the time. That show you mentioned is incredible and going to help a lot of people. There's a smattering of benefit shows happening throughout our communities, some of which are benefiting Sweet Relief, all of which are benefiting, first responders and those affected. Our focus at Sweet Relief Musicians Fund is, as you said, music industry professionals who have been affected by the fire. And I have to tell you, Dr. Nee, that there's a disproportionate number of music industry folks affected because of the concentration of musicians and everybody else who works in the industry that lived in these fire zones, and particularly in Altadena, a really thriving, vibrant music community that their houses burned to the ground. Their community is decimated, and the horror stories filling my inbox are just heartbreaking. We're doing our best. We're saying yes to everybody now. We're very fortunate to have the funding to do so. Although, the more the better. We'd like to be able to increase our grant sizes, but we're helping a lot of people with emergency financial assistance, which is exactly what we do at Sweet Relief in peace times and in natural disaster times. which is where we are now.
And so can you give us some examples of the kinds of emergency assistance that you all have been funding? We know that there right now is a lot of generosity out there. We want to encourage people to continue to be generous. We've got to take the long view in terms of what it's going to look like for people to not just rebuild their homes, but rebuild their lives, right? We've been talking to folks who've been impacted by the fires for weeks now. And there's not a person we've talked to where it hasn't been clear to me that it's more than just the loss of a home. There's a grief. There's a sense of mourning that's afoot. People forget there are a number of people that didn't just lose their home, the place they lay their head when they go to sleep. They lost their business because they work from home, right? And so talk to us about the kind of emergency assistance that you all have been providing the folks.
So our assistance comes in the form of cash grants. We're financial assistance, although we are also working on a gear replacement program with some key partners, which will come a little bit later. As you said, many of these folks work from home in home studios that they've built over many decades of building it up. I've saved up, I bought my console, I saved up, I was able to get a guitar, I was able to get this piece. And they've created viable home businesses by building out studios and producing for artists and making music themselves, and just gone overnight. And as you said, the process of rebuilding is going to take some time. So right now, the immediate need, you look at the hierarchy of needs, it's food and shelter right now. They're displaced, they're in a hotel, their credit card bills are mounting, they're scared, they don't know where they're going to go next. For the lucky ones, I guess you could say, who their houses didn't burn down, but they're still not able to return. They don't know what they're going to face when they get back, besides a massive cleanup and some unhealthy air. They know that that's coming. But so the immediate needs, we're paying for shelter, we're paying for food, we're offering food cards, we're paying for anything they need right now. And then we're inviting people back for additional funding as it comes in down the line. And like I said, we're also working on the gear replacement program with some key partners so we can help them rebuild.
Wow. And so that's really great for our streamers and our listeners to know where their generous donations are going. Talk to us about the music scene, because you're the first person I've talked to that's dialed into Altadena that talked about the sort of thriving and vibrant music scene. I know there have been a lot of pieces that have been written thus far about the close-knit community in Altadena and the history of Black and Brown communities in particular in Altadena. But I didn't know about the music scene, and so tell us more.
Honestly, I'm learning about it myself. I am not a historian, but I've been seeing the applications come in. I was curious, and I looked into it, and I've heard some of my musician friends talking about it, and so I recently learned about the deep roots and the why it's a unique place, and I certainly am learning along with the rest of us that what a valuable community that is there, and why it needs additional help, and not additional, but why it needs help right now, emergency assistance, and we're here to give it to them.
Yeah. Talk to us about your team. Have any of your team members over at Sweet Relief Musicians Fund, how have they been impacted by the fires?
We're all physically safe. Our office is in Orange County, and many of us work at home, and we've got somebody in New York, but nobody has been directly affected. The only effect has really been overwork. We're all kind of round the clock, all hands on deck. Everybody's doing everything that we can to get the money into the hands of those who need it. My role here is, my main focus has been to keep the money coming in, and to raise money, and to reach out to our partners and let us know the situation. We see it right in front of us, and it's easy to forget that somebody living in San Francisco or New York, it's the immediacy is not as readily available to them. But so it's kind of my job to let them know and let them know what our needs are, and give them the opportunity to help, which many have.
Well, when we come forward, I want to get your hot take on award season. We know that the Grammys is right around the corner, the Oscars is around the corner. It is award season in LA and beyond. And there are a number of people who have saying, hey, maybe this year, let's not do the Oscar nominee luncheon. Maybe this year, let's not go all out with the Grammys. Instead, let's take some of that budget and invest it in relief efforts like yours. I want to get your hot take on that point of view and more when we come forward. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Eric, the executive director of the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. If you are looking to channel your generosity in a very specific way to support some of the musicians who've been impacted by the LA wildfires, please check out the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. Every dollar that you generously give to them is really going to support the folks that help to make all of our communities all the more vibrant through their music. More when we come forward.
KBLA Talk. We've got a lot to talk about.
I feel so alone. I'm embarrassed to talk about it.
How can I help my kid if I can't help myself?
I can't remember when I wasn't stressed.
I don't like being inside. When you feel overwhelmed by your thoughts and emotions, it's okay to get help. You are not alone. CalHope is here for you with free, safe, and confidential mental health resources for youth, young adults, families, and you. Find support now at calhope.org.
Okay, so last time I had insurance, I got hit with huge bills every time I saw the doctor.
You got to get a plan with low copays and no deductibles. That's what those big bills are. I got a plan through Covered California. Now it doesn't cost so much to go see a doctor.
Seriously?
Yeah, and they have a bunch of options like that. So you can find one that works for you and your cash flow.
I can swing that.
We all have questions. Covered California has answers and can find a health plan that's right for you. Covered California, this way to health insurance.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host, and I'm joined with Eric. He is the executive director of the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. Eric, before the break, I had mentioned that there are a number of folks in Hollywood that are sort of rethinking award season. And Spotify is one of them. Spotify has actually canceled its Grammy Week events in the wake of the LA wildfires, including its annual Best New Artist Party and its 2025 Songwriter of the Year Party. They're not alone. There are a lot of folks rethinking this. What say you?
Of it. On the one hand, I feel if they can turn those events into fundraisers, I mean, go ahead. And I feel the same way with the Grammys. I think the Grammys is a great opportunity to raise awareness for what's going on here. I think a lot of money will come in because of it, and for that reason, I think it's a good, positive thing. And I've heard a lot of some of the bigger labels canceling their parties and then using those resources that they would have used for relief efforts, which I think is terrific too. I understand both sides. I also know a lot of crew folk and musicians are working because the Grammys are happening, and I think that's terrific too. So I understand why it seems a little counterintuitive to be celebrating at a time like this, but I think if they can achieve the right somber tone and raise money during the process for those who need it, I think it's a good thing.
I mean, to your point about, members of the crew that have a chance to work these events, it's not lost on me that, as overwhelmed and in some cases as grief-stricken as people are, that they probably need an outlet, right? Something to remind them of something that they love, as opposed to just being inundated with, constant reminders of what they've lost, right? And so, it seems to me that maybe we need just sort of, a nice mix of both, right? Raise as much money for these relief efforts, but at the same time, how can we find ways to, employ people who have been impacted? Because as you mentioned earlier, people's credit card bills are racking up, and so is their anxiety.
Yes, sir. Not to bring a political slant into this, but I think it's been a difficult week for a large swath of the United States. I think the Grammys will provide a welcome distraction from that too, for many. Yeah.
I mean, well, this is the place to bring a political slant.
I'm gonna try to stay in my lane here.
No. By all means. But I wanted to ask you if there was a particular story of an individual or a family that's been impacted that has really been haunting you, or put differently, motivating you to really advance the mission of Sweet Relief Musicians Fund.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't really need more motivation, but I can tell you it's the same story over and over, Dr. Nee. It's just, I've lost everything, a lifetime that I've worked for, burned to the ground. My life is in ashes. I'm at a hotel in Reno with my 2 young children and my dog, and I managed to save my laptop and the clothes on our backs. And we're about to max out our credit cards, and I don't know what to do next. Like, that story has been told over and over and over again. And I didn't think I needed any motivation coming into this to help. But if I did, it's certainly found in that story that's just being repeated over and over again. And then the others who preface their applications, we ask for a little blurb about why are you applying, and so many say, I know that there are those who need help more than I do. And then they list their situation, which is dire. It's they're also displaced, but maybe they just haven't quite maxed out their credit cards yet. And they're so still in the face of this monumental life experience, they're still finding, kindness and humility in their hearts. And that is very motivating for me. Yeah.
Eric, what is your message to some of the elected officials? Do you think that they could be doing a whole lot more? We know that President Trump is planning to visit Los Angeles on Friday or Saturday of this week. It'll be his first visit to California as president. What requests would you make of the president or some of the other public officials, given the stories that you've been hearing on repeat? You have permission to speak freely.
My request is to just find your humanity and try to set it all aside and see that these are just people who need help, man. And please don't try not to be colored by any other motivations than let's help these people. You know, they need help. Let's help. That's really my plea. I don't have a criticism of the way the fire has been handled. I think that is not my area of expertise, and it's not for me to say what kind of job they're doing. It certainly seems to me that everyone's doing the best that they can.
Well, we are going to continue to do the best that we can, and we see that you and your team over at Sweet Relief Musicians Fund are doing the best that you can. Where can people go to donate to your relief effort?
Thank you for asking. Sweetrelief.org is our website. Googling Sweet Relief will take you to any of our socials, any of our channels are available online, but the hub of it all is sweetrelief.org, and it's very easy to donate. And following us on socials is another great way to kind of help us out if you're not able to donate at this time, and signing up for our newsletter and keeping abreast of things that are going on. We are sending out a list of all the benefit shows that are helping folks and helping Sweet Relief, and including we have a big benefit show coming up in San Francisco on February 8th. That one is sold out, but we're planning some more shows specifically for fire relief. So with some big names attached. So everybody stay tuned for those.
So I hope that you'll have my email address as a part of your distribution list, and we will definitely do our part to make sure that our audience is aware of all the very many opportunities of support. Just to reiterate, you can go to sweetrelief.org. Easy to remember, sweetrelief.org to really get connected with the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. There's a newsletter that you can sign up for. You can follow them on social at
Sweet Relief.
At Sweet Relief. It's just that easy. And remember, these folks are providing cash assistance to folks that really are in need of the basics. You just heard a story right here of a musician in Reno with the 2 kids and a laptop and a credit card, right? Trying to figure it out.
Maxed out credit card.
Maxed out credit card at that. Trying to figure it out, right? And so, let's be as generous as we possibly can. And also, I want to make sure that we're underscoring that it's not in place yet, but they're working on a gear replacement sort of, assistance program for musicians, because, there are so many of us that have the option of working from home. A lot of them have had home studios for a long, long time, as we've heard. And so that means they probably have had gear in there that also went up in flames, right? And so this is a really targeted way to support folks that are in enormous need. I want to say thank you, Eric. Thank you for being the good Samaritan you are. And to everybody on your team, thanks to the work that they're doing. Eric Steinberg of Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I want to finish with this. If you have an Instagram account, you need to listen to this. Instagram users encountered blocked political hashtags in search results. This is the latest. Several Instagram users have reported seeing hashtags such as hashtag Democrat, hashtag Jan6, hashtag John Oliver, all being blocked, accompanied by a message stating, "We've hidden these results." According to Axios, the big picture here is the change came as Meta's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, had initiated a rapid reversal of policies in the run-up to President Trump's inauguration, including replacing fact checkers with community notes and having Instagram and Threads recommend political content to users once again. Consider this your public service announcement. Govern yourself accordingly. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. President Trump has signed an order pardoning 1,500 January 6 riot defendants and commuting sentences for 6 others. The names remain undisclosed. A historic winter storm is hitting the South, bringing snow, ice, and freezing rain through